Hi, my name is Sarah Hummel Jones. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I work for the Union for Contemporary Art as the co-op studio manager and ceramic technician. Today we will be learning how to make album cover artwork at home using colored pencils and watercolor. To start, I'm going to be doing the line drawing of my band members just using a few colored pencils, pencil, and a marker. You can select from any of these options. You don't have to use all of them. I'm just going to get started with drawing all of my band members. I'll explain a bit more about that process as we go along. So I've got my piece of paper and my drawing utensils ready to go. And I'm just gonna start by drawing each band member. I'm gonna start by simple ovals and circles for the shapes of their heads. And I'm just kind of scattering them all throughout the page. And you can kind of determine how many members are in your band on your own. One of my favorite numbers is 6, so I'm gonna go ahead and do 6 band members. So now that I have all 6 band members drawn, I made sure to leave some space for my band name up at the top. I'm still a little undecided about our name, so I'm gonna wait until after I've drawn all my band members' hair to then add that text. Next, I'm gonna give each band member a unique hairstyle, and I usually find inspiration for hairstyles just based off of how I wear my own hair. You can go ahead and Google image search how to draw hairstyles. I do that myself when I'm having a hard time figuring out what new funky hairstyles to give the women that I draw. Another thing to keep in mind while drawing hair is to use the space that you have on the page. So you can kind of see that with this head specifically, I kind of drew her bun up into this area. And I'm just doing that so when we go on to the next step, I know which space I have allotted for the patterns we're going to be making. So for this head, I'm just gonna go into this area a bit. Give her a little ponytail and some added texture. I want to put my band name up in this corner, so I'm just going to give her a tiny little bun on top. Draw a little part right here, and then she's going to have her hair down. All right, next I'm going to move on to drawing their faces. And I kind of like to do each face at a time. And you want to keep in mind that if you are drawing with a marker, especially a marker that produces quite a bit of ink on the page, you're going to want to allow one face to dry before moving on to the next one to reduce any smudging. So next I'm just going to draw her nose. And then I like to draw the mouth after that. And I also give my faces a bit of a twist, whether drawing on paper or on my ceramic cups in my normal practice. And I often give this figure that I draw 2 to 6 eyeballs per side. And then I'm just going to continue that for the rest of my bandmates. I also try to vary the way that their noses, mouths, eyeballs, and eyebrows look. So for example, this one, I might give her a little bit of a longer nose. And then as I'm drawing her mouth, I might give her some teeth. And then for her eyeballs, I'm gonna draw that same kind of coffee bean shape. And then instead of giving dots that touch the bottom of the eyelid, I'm just gonna give her dots that float in the middle. So instead of that line eyebrow, I'm gonna give her little hatch mark eyebrows. And now I'm just gonna move on to the last 4 bandmates. Now that all 6 band members have been drawn, next I'm going to include our band name at the top, just so I don't forget once we get to our next step. So I've decided to name our band the Clay Clubs, and that's just from times I've spent with friends making work out of clay in any ceramic studio I happen to be in. I always call it Clay Club, so we're gonna be the Clay Clubs. You can feel free to just draw simple letters. I'm gonna draw block letters so I can color them in. You can also feel free to do this in pencil beforehand. And I think I'm just gonna take the rest of my band name into this little section here. So here's the start of my album. Now that you have all of your band members drawn in along with the title, you can feel free to go in and add any little fun features to each band member. I personally like to wear glitter when I'm having fun, so I might just add like some little sparkles in this one's hair. Maybe I'll add like a flower in her hair. Might even add a few on the outside. The next step is going to be adding little elements of patterns and objects that maybe you like throughout the whole page. Things that I like are flowers, hearts, poodles. Think of objects that maybe you really love and identify with in the everyday life, things that you see in nature. Just anything can be added, anything that gives a little fun flair and spark to your album. Just remember to have fun and use your imagination. All right, so next I'm just gonna start drawing in those fun and funky shapes that I really love. As I went through and added hearts and flowers throughout my album, I made sure to kind of scatter them evenly throughout the page, just so they were represented all the way across my album. Next, I'm going to put in some larger images that I really like in these bigger spots. You can go ahead and keep filling in with smaller objects that you like, but I'm just going to add a few larger pieces into these sections. To give you a little recap of what I drew, I really like drawing these quick little hands. I guess in this album it signifies audience members who are super excited about the music that we're making. I also went ahead and threw in a couple of heart eye emojis that I also really like, and a drawing of my poodle. I might see if I can add just a few more simple shapes in these open areas just to give the album a bit more depth, but you can feel free to stop at any time. All right, So I think I am done drawing in the majority of my album cover, and like I mentioned before, you can feel free to draw in around your band members as much or as little as you'd like. I really like to create environments with my work, so I went ahead and just drew a bunch of different things throughout the album. I'm just gonna add one more right there and right here. And next we're gonna move on to coloring. I'm now gonna color in my album cover with some watercolor and a few of my favorite colored pencils. I'm almost finished with my album cover. I'm just gonna add a few more details, like adding some nail polish to these hands. I'm gonna also add a little bit of eyeshadow to some of their eyeballs. Thanks for joining me on how to make album cover art. I just finished and I'm pretty happy with the results. I'm now gonna set this drawing aside and let it dry for a bit because the watercolor is still a little damp, but here's the finished product. I hope you are able to make album art at home, and just remember to have fun and use your imagination.